Hi everyone, can you guys hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. So you guys, I don't really have a presentation or anything to go over, so it would be really beneficial if everybody could unmute or share the video if you want to. If you're not prepared, still wearing PJs, that is totally okay. This is kind of just meant to be like an informal discussion about us as associates and like past things that have been done with the ALA, anything that we can improve on, or if anybody has any suggestions of what we could do better or like what we need as associates, that'd be really beneficial. I did create a little survey that I will share in the chat here. It's just a quick Google survey. So what we're hoping to get out of this is kind of creating an associate committee. Um, Things are going to be a little weird just because of COVID. So I think we'll end up just doing like a virtual committee for the time being until we get the go ahead to do things in person again. So if anybody wants to chime in, that would be awesome. If you guys want to talk about like layer stuff or taking the layers, or if you have any ideas for resources that we could purchase, like where we can go to the board as well with a budget that we need, or like a request for money basically to keep moving forward with things. So if anybody has any ideas, you can drop them in the chat or you can unmute. Does anyone have anything to contribute? I really don't want to sit here in silence, so if anybody has anything, that'd be awesome.
I have a question. What issues have been brought forward by associates up to this point? Like, is there anything specific?
I think there's been like a couple people that have had some issues with the process of getting interviewed by the board, but I think that's really the only issue that I'm aware of personally. I'm not sure what other ones have been brought forward to Todd. I've kind of just got volunteered and thrown into this position, so I'm just working with it. So if you're aware of any, please bring them forward.
I think one of the issues I've run into, not necessarily an issue, but it's not set up very well, I find, for entering your hours into the website for the log. The number of projects I have means that, you know, I have like 1 hour a day on each project, and I have to type in every single hour of every single day. It just takes a long time.
Yeah.
I know some people do it at the end of each day, but I just don't have time for that.
For sure.
And is it an issue if I just say, over these 3 months, I spent this many hours doing this particular project in this particular task?
I think Todd's had this discussion with a few people that like when I personally am entering my logs, I do them by week. So like I'll just pull up my weekly time card and I'll write like 5 hours spent on like proposal. And like I might list what projects that I worked on so that if I ever do get audited, it's easy for me to like pull back up what project I was working on to like prove to them of what I was doing during that time and not just like faking my hours. But I know some people do it monthly too, so I don't think it's really a big deal for how you're inputting them. And like Todd has this trick where, so when I do it, I have like my time card open on like, I have 2 monitors. I have my time card open on like one screen and then the AALA thing open on my other screen. So I have like my hour log and the like 2 windows open. I'll have my hour log that I'm inputting my hours in. And then on the other one, I'll also have like my like the page where you fill everything out so that I can quickly like refresh it. Because Todd was talking about the easiest way to do is just like enter your stuff and then Todd, is it okay if you mute? I don't know. Todd, can you mute yourself from this one? Thanks. So yeah, so Todd showed us this trick that basically you can enter all of your stuff and then just you click enter and then you go back. It's kind of time consuming, but that's the quickest way that I've found to do it as well. So you basically, like it's kind of hard for me to explain. Let me just pull it up really quick so I can kind of explain it a little bit better. The website has slightly been revamped, so it's a little different now. Oh. And of course it's saying that the website's not working right now for some reason. Okay, I'll try this again, sorry. So I'll have like my full hours log where it will show like every line item. That's gonna be one window. And then on my other window that I have pulled open, it's the one that you actually input your hours into. And then usually I just like stick with whatever like subject I'm on, like if it's like proposal or like office management or like site visits or whatnot, like I'll do that line item and then hit enter and then you just hit back. So then it stays on that same date. So then it's like slightly easier to input it, but that's the only thing that I've learned to be a little bit quicker or efficient for submitting them.
Okay, thank you. Is there any, I don't know if you can answer this, but I was having a discussion with a colleague at work yesterday about the layers, and we were talking about how it is very oriented for like one way of thinking, like you've got the multiple choice.
Yeah.
I mean, we could say it's like the white male way of thinking. And is there has there been any talk about, you know, changing the way the exam is administered to include like diversity and other ways of thinking, like the female way of thinking, things like that?
Yeah, I can't speak on that, but I know that, so like the registration board, CLARB, they're a little bit, Todd has probably had more experience working with them, but from what I've heard in my, just like other colleagues talking about the process of going through the registration board, they're a little bit difficult to work with. And because they run out of the states, I have no idea like what their diversity or inclusion stuff is. Like it's a lot different, like especially AALA versus other boards across Canada. I feel like we operate like a little bit more inclusive just because of like our background, and like Todd's our leader and he has a really wide range of people that he knows. Like he's with the ARPA, so we get a lot of like First Nation stuff and like the LGBTQ community, and so I feel like we do a little better with that in Alberta, but I have no idea. Like, I know I've taken a couple layers and have failed over the last couple of years. So they do like one of the things is like the health and safety of welfare for people, but I don't know if they're necessarily viewing it from a different lens of like a diverse group of people. I feel like it is, like you're saying, generally like directed to one type of person for the exams. Like there hasn't been anything that I've seen about like us, like female safety or like anything like that. Like a couple questions will be like, what is like the most dangerous spot on this plan view, or what would be a safety issue? And that's kind of just it that I've seen and from my experience of what they write on the exams. But I don't think they actually have directed any of those things or put more thought into that. But they're really testing. There's I hate the layers. I'm just I despise them. So I'm probably not a very good advocate for them, but they really like test minimal, and you really have to forget everything that you learn and practice as a designer as well when you're taking them, because it's just so basic. Like I always end up overthinking everything whenever I write the layers, because I'm just like, well, if you're actually designing this, you would never do what they're asking you to do in the question. So I always have a hard time with that. So, but yeah, they try to brainwash you and think very simplistic whenever you're taking the layers. So, is anybody else in the process of studying for the layers or taking layers? Or I know, Will, you're on the call right now and you've taken the layers. Lee, you're already taking the layers. So if anybody has any advice or like input or struggles that they face that we could do better, now's the time to speak up. Like I know personally, I know that like the ASLA offers a lot more for the people that are taking the layers. Like they have a lot more practice exams and stuff like that. So if you guys think that would be something beneficial for us to get our hands on, that's an option. Or if there's any courses or people, like I just a couple weeks ago took the layer prep course that was originally offered by Ray Freeman. If you're part of that Google forum group for the layers, you might have seen it. He used to run it, and now it's ran by Sarah. I'm gonna butcher her last name. I can't even pronounce it, but she runs it now, and basically it's a 3-day course that you can take, and it was only ever offered to American residents, and you'd have to go drive to these places in person, and they like refuse to send any of the study materials for Canadians. But now COVID happened, so they had to make it virtual. So I was able to get in on the course, and I found it very beneficial because it was like a kind of like a classroom setting. Although it is a lot more expensive for us because it's like $700 for the course, but it's like a 3-day intensive course. So if I pass, then it's worth it, but if I didn't, then it's not, sort of thing. But yeah, it's normally only like it's $500 for American residents, so it's a little bit more realistic for them to take it. Like, so if you guys think anything like that would be beneficial, like let me know, and then we can talk to Todd to see if we could maybe get somebody to come in and talk about it, or maybe we could get somebody who is a registered LA to talk about their experience. If anybody has any ideas or suggestions.
I think anything additional would be really helpful.
Okay.
Like a member of the OALA layer study group or whatever, like just the Google page where people post stuff. And so that's been really useful, like to find information. And as far as I understand, we don't have anything here in Alberta like that. And that might be quite nice to have.
Yeah, so the only thing that I've seen is that like I had friends in Ontario that shared all of their OALA stuff, which was helpful. But I know Todd has a couple practice exams on like our AALA website, but I feel like they're maybe the same exams that were pulled from the ASLA, like practice exams. I think the section 4 one is probably the best one out of them. I think they were 50 questions versus the other ones were only like 20 or 15. So I do agree that if we could get like more of that stuff, it would be really beneficial. And I know that, like, as we are just talking about this, maybe we could do like purchase the books. I'm not exactly if this would work or how it would work, but maybe get like an online resource to be able to like share the materials from it. But like from our office, we had like LAs with like 30 years of experience. So they had like the old layer prep, like actual coiled practice exam books from when people had to like hand draw in the layers. But yeah, so that's the only thing that I could think of. But we
Taylor,
could,
one thing I can contribute to this. I know when I was going through the layers myself, the interlibrary network from the U of C is fantastic. So I was writing them in Edmonton, and there was a number of the books that were not here. But by going to the U of A, it's free, and they'll transfer the books from the U of C to the U of A, and you can come pick it up.
okay. And did you find that they had all of the books that you needed to read?
Yeah, so for sections 1 and 2, I was able to source all of the literature.
Okay.
Sections 3 and 4, my own experience with that, it was almost too cumbersome and too robust, the recommended reading, where it becomes almost an insurmountable mountain to try and climb to do all of the recommended reading. So I took the strategy of doing the practice exams, and there's some really great websites that are out there that will sell practice exams as well. And I think I spent something like $200 on practice exams for sections 3 and 4. And I just drilled those for a couple of months and then skimmed some of the recommended reading that I had to hand, like the time saver standards.
Yeah. I find with those like layer prep exams, I find a lot of the time that the answers are wrong in them. So they're not necessarily always the trustworthy, because the bad thing with them, the CLARB doesn't follow up with any of that information to see if it's correct or not. So you're kind of going out on a limb to trust whatever has been put out. So that's the only thing that I caution with those. But they are helpful majority of the time. So
I find it's mostly around the subject matter that you're looking to. I found it to be a little bit nebulous to anticipate what types of questions to get on section 3 and 4. So, just having those types of questions like metal fasteners, connecting metal fasteners, what's the family and what's the application? It didn't really sink in too much until I started doing those. And matching those. So I found that was the biggest value for me going through those.
for sure. So does everybody still see my chat that I shared a survey to be filled out? Can you guys still see that? I can resend it here if you guys don't have access to it anymore. So one of the main goals, I know we're still talking about the layers, but we're hoping that we can set up a committee. So I'm hoping that we can get 2 people from Calgary to join the committee, and either 1 to 2 more people in Edmonton to join the committee, just to kind of help out, like set up events and do something informal like this, maybe talk about layers. We could do like a study group in Alberta if that's something people are interested in. And like one thing I would love to set up is a parking day in Edmonton. So if anybody is interested in that or familiar with parking day, let me know, because we could take that on as like an event in Edmonton as well. Like Todd goes down to Calgary every year to do it, and I think it's put on by volunteers. But I think there's a lot more presence in Calgary with, I think, like associates and LATs and people involved in ALA in general. So it would be really good if we could get some more people in Edmonton. Yeah, if anybody has anything else to talk about, like that's the only really one thing that I wanted to talk about is forming a committee. So if anybody's interested, speak up, or please send me my email in there. Hopefully, I should probably double check that. But my email is on the speakers list for the ALA like event page that Todd sent out as well. Yeah, if anybody else like has any comments or concerns or anything else they want to talk about, please take the mic and just chime in. And with the survey, if you guys could send it around maybe to LAs are allowed to fill it out too for what they have experienced. Maybe they might have some more insight on how things went for them or what we could improve on or any courses that we could take. I'm in a study group with the people that took this course, and they recently just enrolled in an irrigation course that the ASLA offered. So, and they said that would be beneficial for section 4 as well. So if there's something like that that you guys think that would be cool to pay for somebody to come and teach us stuff, like that's always an option too. I'll just reshare that survey link again. I see a couple people are joining in. Hey, Chris, I'm just seeing your message in the chat here. I agree that that would be a really good idea to do some socials. I recently, with my branch, we just purchased Jackbox. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but I was thinking that we could do like a games night since we'll have to do it virtually and everybody can just dial in on their phones. And then maybe we could have like a beer or whatever virtually and just kind of talk, and you guys can raise any questions or concerns. And Will, would you want to send me an email with that information about the Open Streets Festival? I haven't heard of that one. I'm not super familiar with that. So any information that you could send me would be awesome. Okay, that's great. Thanks, Chris. Chris, would you be interested in doing part of the committee from the South Side? Makes sense, totally. I think we'll probably have to end up setting like another meeting up after this to kind of figure out what we want and what the board's gonna look like, that sort of thing. I'm just messaging Todd really quick to see if he wants to say anything before I let you guys all go, if nobody has anything else they want to talk about. I'm not entirely sure if we get a lunch break or if we're just going right next to the next event or not. I think if we don't hear from Todd, we'll probably just end at 12:30, and then maybe you guys can just jump back in at 1, because I think that's when our next event is. Chris, I see your question here for the layers. How many exam opportunities are there in one calendar year? So I believe that the layer is offered 3 times a year. So the spring, summer, and winter, I believe. Like, so I think it's in April, August, and December are the 3 times that it's offered. And normally all four sessions are offered all 3 of those times. So you basically have, I was gonna say 12 chances, but that's not correct. You have multiple chances throughout the year to take your exams. Like, so I have written and failed section 3 twice, and I think I tried it twice in 1 year. And one of the bonuses for this is that thankfully Todd hasn't like capped us at how many credits we can claim with them. So you can pretty much have all your PDUs covered just writing your layer exam. So that's one benefit of taking the layers. Does anybody else have any more questions before we all leave this little room? Todd hasn't said anything back to me, so I think we're good to just leave, and then you guys can join back at 1 p.m. So Chris just asked a question again. Are the exams taken at classroom environments or can they be taken online now? So section 1 and 2 are both offered online from your home, but section 3 and 4, you still have to go in. So they are run out of a test center. It's called Pearson VUE, is the people that CLARB basically sub out to watch us write the exam. There's 2 locations within Edmonton. I think there's 2 or 3 within Calgary as well. In Calgary, the one place that I tried to write at was like in a mall by like, I always get lost in Calgary. It was like on the southeast side of Calgary on some mall, some back entrance of this mall that you go into to write there. And in Edmonton, there's like a south location, the one that I haven't been to yet to see what it looks like, but there's lots of parking. And the other one in Edmonton is, yeah, shady. And the other one in Edmonton is located in like a downtown building. So basically you go up into this like room and there's like a waiting room out front. There's other people that write registration exams there as well. And it depends on like what they do with them. So this one place that you go to, you give them your ID and they like take your picture. You have to take off your glasses and like show them your wrists and like behind your ears and like empty your pockets to make sure that you're not cheating or could have anything to cheat. And yeah, so they take your picture of the webcam, and this one, it takes like your fingerprint or something. Like they're like super weird and strict about writing the registration exams. And then basically you get checked out by another person where they like check your pockets, make you turn around, look at your glasses, that sort of thing. And then you are basically taken into this really small like cubicle setup where it's probably like, or my size of my desk or like a normal cubicle, and you have a computer station with a camera above you because they watch you write your exam the whole time. And there's like a glass partition behind you that someone sits at with all the computers watching you. And then they log you onto this computer and you sit down at this computer and you're not allowed leaving for your duration of your exam. And that's basically how it works. It's a little intense and intimidating the first time you go in, but it gets better. Like, I think it's easier. It was easier to write sections 1 and 2 there because you're not there for that long, but section 4, you're given 4 hours to, I think, 3.5 or 4 hours to write your exam. So I always take all my time writing my exams. So I'm basically sitting stuck in this chair for 4 hours, and you're not allowed bringing in water. You can't chew gum. If I can't remember if it's for the layers, they like stop your exam if you leave. I think you're allowed to get water out of your locker, but your timer keeps running on your exam. So you're kind of like, well, it's not really worth it to go get water, but that's generally the process. Does anyone have any other questions? There's only a couple of us left in here now. Jennifer, do you have any more questions?
I was just wondering if was it available online in August? Or is it the upcoming the first time?
I think it was sections 1 and 2 were available in August, I'm pretty sure.
Because when reading through the orientation guide, they're going to be really strict about background noises. And I'm wondering like how strict, like I have a dog, if the dog barks, is that going to be the end of my exam?
I'm not sure. There are 2 really helpful people that I have dealt with that work at CLARB. You can always send them an email and just get some more clarification prior to writing the exam, like, and then you can figure out if you need to go leave your dog with a friend or family member for the time being.
Yeah.
But just how I know that they are like at Pearson View, I feel like they're probably pretty strict. Like I feel like you'll have to be like, this is my room, there's no one else here. Like there's no one hiding under my desk, because I think it says something about like a room tour or like something like that to make sure, and like they want to make sure all your walls are blank, like you don't have any sticky notes like above your camera or like anything like that. So, but yeah, I think the best bet would just to be reach out to them and just clarify that, like, hey, is it okay if my dog's here with me or not? But
Okay, thanks.
yeah, no problem. Anybody else? Chris, do you have any other questions? Awesome. All right. Well, I think we're good to leave because there's only 3 of us in here now. So if you guys have any other questions or you think of anything, feel free to shoot me an email. I think my email should be, if you go to the speakers portion on the thing, I've shared my email there. You can always contact me on LinkedIn too. Yeah, if you have any more questions or you're intimidated about something or you want to get something up to the top, send me an email, let me know, and we'll get it figured out.
Thank you so much for your time, Caitlin.
Yeah, no problem. You guys enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah, you too.
Oh, Todd's here. Did you want to say anything?
I just thought I'd jump in real quick. I just got my last call done. Is there anything I can answer for you guys?
I don't think so.
I just saw the shady but okay comment, so I thought we'd check in.
We're talking about CLARB and Pearson View, so.
Well, on the upside now is you can take it from home at least.
Yes, for sections 1 and 2.
Yeah, but they're working on 3 and 4. The issue is the drag and drops don't work correctly in the technology. So they're part of the fall agenda is to look at those exams to figure out how, if they can be adapted or if Pearson View's technology can be adapted. So the goal is to get all 4 of them into your homes.
That's good to know. Todd, Jennifer did have a question. Have you heard anything about like how strict CLARB is? She had a concern that there was her pet dog might be like a no-go for writing the exam if her dog barks or not. Have you heard anything if they're like super strict on that?
I haven't heard anything. I don't know, as long as the dog's not in the room, it's probably fine. Like if the dog's on the other side of the door and it barks, I think that's probably going to be okay. It's a really great question though, if you're concerned about that, just to send me that in an email and I'll forward it on to Rebecca and get an answer for you. Because Rebecca, now that we've done a round, Rebecca will have a sense of what those things are. I sit on the CLARB board as well, so I tend to get a really quick answer on things. So yeah, if you're not sure about any of those sorts of questions that come up, you can either contact CLARB directly and ask them, or zap it to me and I'll find out for you right pronto.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I know that they're worried about, like, they definitely don't want your dog and your kid in the room with you, but if they're on the other side of the door and there's some noise, it's no different than an ambulance going by. How do they control? You don't control that. So yeah, I think it'll be okay, but let's find out.
Chris, I saw you have another question here. Are the exams written in order or can a person choose which parts to write? And the answer is you can choose. If you decide you want to write section 4 first, by all means do it. I don't recommend it. There is a lot of overlap between 1 and 4. It's kind of weird this year. There's been a lot of like bidding questions in section 4, and there's even some section 3 that's trickled into section 4. But you have to remember, a lot of the times when you write the exams, they have test questions that they're not calculated towards your actual exam mark. They're just putting them out there to see if like people can make sense of them. And
10%.
and if
10%
people,
of the questions on the exam are test questions that they're checking to see if they're valid before they roll them into the exam set. The other thing to remember is a lot of the time those questions that seem like they're in the wrong section, they're asking about a different mindset related to the question. It happens a lot in section 1 and 2. You have to remember what those sections are talking about in terms of the sequence in a design build, and context. So the same question might have a different answer in section 1 than it would have in section 2, because you're at a different point in building, and that the answer is different based on where you're at in the construction and design processes. So that's one of the big things that they really say is really make sure you know what that section deals with, and then approach questions from that mindset. It really makes a big difference.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had some weird ones where they're like asking about like design elements in section 4, and I'm like, this shouldn't be here, but okay. Yeah.
The only other advice I can give you about order of writing, the closer you are to school, the closer you should. 1 and 2 are usually easier to Larry land if you have less experience. 3 and 4 are easier usually once you have some experience.
Mhm.
So the only other advice we know is the longer you wait after leaving school to do section 1 and 2, the harder those exams become to pass.
Mm-hmm. And I found that section 1 and 2 was a lot more like memorization. So if you're good at memorizing, then you're golden. It's a lot of like definitions and just remembering that sort of stuff. Whereas 3 and 4 is actually being able to apply all the information that you've learned into them. So that's why section 3 and section 4 are a little bit more difficult.
Perfect, folks. If you don't need me anymore, I'm going to step back away. I've got 3 different things going, so I'm just cycling through.
I think we're going to end the meeting.
Okay.
There's only 3 of us in here.
If you're done, go ahead and end. There's actually like 8 of you, but only 3 of you are actually participating in the meeting. Might be the answer. Yeah, there's 8 of you in there for sure. But yeah, when you're done, Caitlin, you're the host, so just hit end for everybody, and that'll clear the recordings.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right. Any more questions? Everybody good? Okay. You guys enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Talk to you
Bye.
later. Bye.